The following contest is an Ironman match. On the way to the ring, from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Candice Michelle. And the opponent, from Los Angeles, California, Jillian Hall.
Welcome to Raw, ladies and gentlemen. We are coming to you live tonight from Tar Helia, from Raleigh, North Carolina.
We should have booked this show for an outdoor arena, JR, because Raw's gonna blow the roof off this place tonight.
You're not kidding, King. Raleigh is Raw country for sure, and these fans are in for the night of their lives.
Pretty obvious which way this one's gonna go, JR.
Well, from my perspective, this is still anybody's match.
I'd like to see things from your perspective, JR, but I'd have to get my head out of my rear end first.
And Lord knows it's been up there for so long that that would be no easy feat. A textbook reversal there, and it's been reversed.
These superstars sure aren't going easy on each other here tonight.
What do you expect, King? This isn't ballet, you know.
Oh, really, JR? Gosh, tell me more about your in-ring experience.
Well, I've got a pinfall victory over Triple H to my credit. How about you? I think this crowd's giving these superstars a piece of their minds, King.
Are you sure they can afford it, JR? Jillian Hall would make such a great addition to Raw, JR. You'd think I'll wine her and dine her and try to get her to jump from Smackdown.
King, if you really wanted to join us on Monday nights, I think the best... Oh, boy! Of all the things that can happen to you in a ring, that's got to be one of the most painful.
No kidding, JR. That's a very...
That went nowhere.
I've been looking forward to this match all night, JR. I can't believe it's finally underway.
This has been a hotly anticipated contest. And as far as I'm concerned, it's living up to the hype.
No question about that, JR. The fans certainly seem to be into it, that's for sure.
And when it comes down to it, that's all that matters. What a reversal. This capacity crowd is making their opinions known tonight.
They sure are, JR, and I love to hear it.
There's no question that Jillian Hall is more than just another pretty face, although she certainly is a handsome young woman.
I know what you mean, JR. I mean, she's got a beautiful face, but what I really like is her...
King, unless the next words out of your mouth are her competitive... Oh boy, this is not going to be an easy hole to escape from.
It sure isn't, JR. I've been on the wrong end of that one many times. These superstars compete against each other here tonight, JR?
I had a feeling their paths were going to cross sooner or later, and I'm glad I'm here to see it.
Me too. Oh my gosh, can you imagine getting beaten with your own finisher, JR? I don't know if his opponent has what it takes to kick out.
Boy, when you look at these superstars, it really drives home the fact
Oh, no! This is terrible! You can't let your opponent build this kind of momentum!
Well, all I can say is someone's been eating their vitamins and saying their prayers. I tell you, King, sometimes I get exhausted just watching these superstars compete.
I know what you mean, JR. I don't think most people appreciate what incredible athletes these WWE superstars really are.
You've got to have some excellent conditioning to be able to do what they do.
Well, that's the name of the game, JR. You gotta keep moving. No dog ever peed on a moving car.
Oh, that's a lovely image. Can his opponent kick out of this pinning predicament?
Was that 3? No? Come on! Oh boy, this looks like an all or nothing move. I gotta say, I'm impressed with Jillian's stamina, JR.
Watch this one, King. I think it's her signature cartwheel elbow.
I'm dizzy just watching it, JR. Flat on your back with your shoulders on the mat is no place to be.
This capacity crowd is solidly behind their superstar. Look at this.
Wow, could you be any more biased, JR? How about some fair and balanced commentary?
It's always a treat to see Jillian Hall perform. Here's a diva who doesn't know the meaning of the word quit.
Yeah, or the meaning of the words, call me back when you get this. I must have left a dozen messages for her once I found out we'd be in the same arena tonight. I think we're gonna find out just how much punishment the human body can withstand here tonight.
I think you're right, King. These superstars seem intent on taking each other to the limit.
I love that attitude, JR. Go big or go home.
Well, these superstars sure aren't going home until... Look at this! Look at this! You talk about a house of fire, you're seeing it right here!
Yeah? Well, somebody better put out that fire, or this one's not gonna end well. I gotta say, JR, I'm really impressed by what we've seen here today.
And there's the culprit!
This match has the potential.
Oh boy, the adrenaline is pumping. I think she's looking to put her opponent away in short order.
Oh my gosh! That cartwheel elbow should just about do it, JR.
Looks like he's trying for a pin here.
You gotta respect the commitment and the dedication of these superstars to their careers.
No question about it, King. Every superstar on the roster has had to make more sacrifices than any other professional athlete I know.
It really is like being married to your career. There's not much room for anything else.
And marriage.
Wow! Stealing your opponent's finishing move definitely sends a message. He's going for the pin!
The WWE Divas are some of the most beautiful and athletic women in the world. And Jillian Hall is certainly no exception.
Beautiful and athletic. That's everything I look for in a woman, JR.
You know, maybe you should add line and depth to that list too, King. It might improve your odds.
You know, JR, when I saw this match on paper, I wasn't too sure about it. But it's turned out a lot better than I thought it would.
I'm not all surprised, King.
That submission is locked in, JR, and this is a tough hold to break.
It sure is, King. And even if you break the hold, it takes its toll on you.
Listen to the crowd, JR. I think they've got something to say to these superstars.
And if they're smart, they'll listen. Remember, without these fans, these superstars are out of a job.
So, how do you think this one's going to turn out, JR?
Honestly, King, I have absolutely no idea. Anything can happen here in the WWE.
But you've got to have a guess, right?
Are you seeing what I'm seeing, King? Looks like turnabout is fair play.
He's a 3 count away from a pinfall. Well, from the looks of things, it's not hard to tell how this one's going to go.
What are you talking about, King? I think this is still an extremely competitive match, that could go either way.
You know, JR, it's...
And there's the submission. There might not be any way out of it.
There better be, but we're going to see a tap out right here.
I think this crowd has decided to exercise the right of free speech.
God bless the First Amendment, JR. Can you believe we actually get paid to do this job, JR?
It's like a dream come true, King. Except when I can sit here and listen to you drool over the Divas.
Come on, JR.
Oh, man. This is a precarious position to be in.
And that's why. Getting a forehead ground into your face is just about the most painful thing I can think of. So, JR, are you enjoying the match so far?
Yes, I am. I think these superstars are putting on one hell of an exhibition here tonight.
What's your favorite part of it so far?
I don't think it's happened yet. My favorite part of the match will be when you quit yapping and let me enjoy it.
Now, JR. Keep your words soft and sweet because you may have to eat them later. You can look at any professional sport you want, JR, and you won't find more incredible athletes than the WWE Superstars.
You're not wrong, King. They compete every week until they are physically incapable of continuing. There's no off-season in the WWE.
We're not talking about running a ball down a field or slapping a puck into a net. This is serious physical competition.
I don't believe it. We might see a superstar get beat for their own finishing move here.
Here's the cover, JR.
There's the kick out. I thought that was it for sure.
I don't think these superstars have any intention of taking it.
And here's the pin. A count of two, and the referee's hand was coming down for the 3.
These superstars are beating the heck out of each other, and this crowd can't get enough of it.
It's what they paid to see, King, and they're getting their money's worth tonight.
They sure are, JR. There's no question these superstars are earning their paychecks.
This is a classic matchup, King. I'm so glad the WWE fans are getting the chance to see it.
Yeah, and I'm happy that I'm getting to see it too, JR. I just wish they'd pick up the pace a little.
Oh, no. This is classic old-school wrestling at its finest. You and all should be able to appreciate that, King.
Wait a minute, JR. You're not trying to say that I'm old, are you?
Of course not, King. Although there was that rumor going around about your Social Security number was lost.
I think these superstars are getting some feedback from the crowd, JR.
Nothing wrong with that, King. That's what we like to hear.
It looks like they've slowed the match down a little. I think that's some good strategy right there.
It certainly is. I'm sure they're well acquainted with the old expression, fools rush in.
Is that why you always seem to be in such a hurry, JR?
I think I've eaten a little too much good Oklahoma barbecue in my day, King, to hurry anyway.
Oh, man. I think she's got an opportunity to put her opponent away here.
I think you're right, King. And that cartwheel elbow just might have done it. I've got a feeling that this has all the makings of an instant classic.
That's probably just gas, JR.
Well, I did have some good old Oklahoma barbecue before tonight's show, but I don't think that's it, King. If one of these superstars starts to build momentum, it could be the beginning of the end of this match.
That's right, JR. You don't see a lot of matches won with one or two big moves.
You sure don't. You've got to lay the groundwork first.
You talk about ruthless aggression. Look at the way these superstars have been going after each other.
They're not playing with kid gloves, that's for sure.
We knew we were going to see a heck of a match, but this might turn out to be... No. Go ahead and say it, JR.
All right, I will. I think this one's got all the makings of a bona fide slobber knocker.
Look at this, JR. He could pin him right here, JR. 1, 2, Man, is there even going to be anything left of these superstars by the time they're done?
Not if they have their way, King. Everything they came in here with tonight is going to be left in that ring, mark my words.
I hope these fans appreciate it, JR. These superstars are putting it all on the line for them right here tonight.
He's got his opponent in a pinning predicament. This is Raw action at its finest. That's why Raw is the #1 brand of sports entertainment.
You got that right, JR. You're not going to see this kind of action on Smackdown.
Not on Smackdown or anywhere else. Oh man, I think we're about to see a high-risk move here.
You think this is going to be a back-and-forth kind of match? Or do you think this is going to be pretty one-sided, JR?
I couldn't tell you, King. These superstars are so unpredictable that you can never tell how a match is going to go.
That was a long way to go for a simple, I don't know, JR. I think I know who's going to win this one, JR.
Oh, really? Enlighten us, King.
Wait a second. Why are you so eager to hear my prediction?
Because I want to know who's going to win. And 9 times out of 10, it's not the superstar you pick.
I don't think that these superstars have even contemplated the fact that they might lose.
I'm sure they have. That's not the kind of attitude you come in with and expect to pick up the win.
You're right about that, JR. If you can't see yourself having your arm raised by the referee when it's over, don't bother showing up.
So, King, any predictions about the outcome of this match?
Oh, no. Every time I make a guess as to who's going to win, I never hear the end of it from you.
Maybe that wouldn't happen.
Wow! Would you look at this?
It's her signature cartwheel elbow. She's got more flip-flops than a politician on a campaign trail.
I think I know who's going to win this match, but I don't want to say it. I'm afraid I'll jinx it.
Come on, King. Don't tell me you're superstitious.
Of course not, JR. I'm not superstitious because I know that's unlucky.
Boy, what a match. I wouldn't even hazard a guess as to who's going to win this thing.
What? Have you got both your contacts in one eye, JR? It's been obvious to me since the start of the match.
Oh, really? Well then, why don't you just enlighten the rest of us, King?
No way! I can already tell this is going to be a great match, and I don't want to ruin the ending for you.
You're too kind, King. You're also full of horse manure, as far as I can tell.
These superstars are putting on a great match so far, JR.
We could be looking at a pinfall here, folks. Is that? No, only 2. It looks like they've decided to slow the match down a bit here.
And this could be a big mistake, JR. You don't ever want to give an opponent time to recover.
No, but you're not going to do yourself much good in the match if you let yourself get bone tired either.
Let me tell you, JR, you won't see action like
The
this.
submission has been expertly applied, and now it's just a matter of time.
That's right, JR. You've either got to break the hold or get broken by it. Oh, boy. These fans have got something on their minds, JR.
Well, they paid for their tickets, King, and they've got a right to say whatever they want. I'll be honest with you, King. This is not the way I thought this match would go at all.
Me neither, JR. I guess that just goes to show that anything can happen in the WWE.
I think you hit the nail right on the head, King, and it's that unpredictability that makes it so exciting.
I talked to these superstars backstage before the match, and I don't think I've ever seen a competitor. He's going for the cover, JR.
What an incredible performance by these phenomenal superstars.
Did you expect anything less, JR? I mean, look who's in the ring right now.
No, I didn't, King. I had high expectations, and I'm happy to say that this match has exceeded them all. Looks like I don't think this match will continue much longer, King. I don't think there's too much left in the tank here.
I'd ask you who you want to win this matchup, JR, but it's been pretty obvious since the start of the show who you're pulling for.
I'm trying to remain as objective as I can, King. Quite frankly, I'd rather see a good competitive matchup than see a particular superstar win or lose this thing.
Oh, come on. Everyone knows you play favorites. You're always trying to kiss up to the fans by talking up whoever they're cheering for.
I've never been a kiss-up in my life, King, which is more than I can say for some people. I call them like I see them, and I'm flattered that the WWE fans agree with me as often as they do.
I don't know how much more of this I can stand to listen to, JR. You know what the difference between you and I-95 is? You can turn off I-95.
He may get the 3 count here.
That was like 2 7/8, JR.
I'm sure these competitors have studied each other very carefully.
I don't care how tough you are, JR. No one can take this kind of pain for long.
You're absolutely right, King. We've seen many superstars tap out to this very hole.
Wow! Listen to these fans, JR.
You can fool some of the people all of the time, and all the people some of the time, but there's no fooling the WWE fans at all.
I tell you, JR, this one has the potential to be a Match of the Year candidate.
No doubt about it, King. As far as I'm concerned, any WWE match has that potential. Everyone on the roster is an accomplished wrestler. I'm not so sure this one's about winning or losing anymore. I think it's become more personal than that.
Of course it's personal, JR. Anytime you step into the ring with someone who wants to beat you down in order to win the match, it's personal.
I guess I can't argue.
Wow. Here's a hole you don't want to find yourself in, JR.
You sure don't, King. We've seen many a superstar tap out to this.
I'm not sure I agree with what the crowd is chanting, JR, but I guess it's their right.
You're damn right it is. It comes with the price of admission. You've got to ask yourself, how much punishment will these superstars be able to withstand tonight?
I don't know, JR, but I think they're pretty intent on finding out.
They certainly don't. I don't know how it's going to end, but I can guarantee you they're going to leave it all in the ring.
This has gone beyond just being a match, JR. I think these superstars genuinely hate each other.
There's no love lost between these competitors, that's for sure. If looks could kill, somebody would be pushing up daisies right now.
And you've got to admit, that makes for a much more interesting match, JR.
It sure does. But I just hope these superstars can settle their differences in the ring and leave it at that. Well, you can't ever accuse the WWE fans of being shy about saying what's on their minds.
You sure can't, JR, and I don't think we'd have it any other way. There's the pin! I think these superstars have a legitimate beef with each other, JR.
So do I, King. I'm not so sure their issues with each other are going to be solved with one match.
I hope not. I'd love to see them go at it again and again. I think I see where this one's going, JR. I don't think we're very far from the end of the match.
I disagree entirely, King. I bet my Oklahoma sooner ass that this one isn't even close to being over.
That's a pretty big bet, JR. Are you sure you're able to cover it? I almost feel bad for Taz and Michael Cole. They never get to call matches as good as this.
SmackDown's had its fair share of exciting matchups, King, but I'm inclined to agree with you. There's nothing like watching the Raw superstars perform live.
And we're so lucky, JR. We get to see them every single week.
Sounds like this crowd's got something on their minds, King.
Who cares? I know these superstars want to keep going, but I don't know if they're going to be able to for much longer. I feel like the luckiest guy in the world, JR. I can't believe I actually get paid to do this job.
Well, don't let Mr. McMahon hear you say that, King, or you might wind up having to do it for free.
That's true. I don't want to say that Mr. McMahon's cheap, JR, but I heard he won't even tip a canoe.
This is a risky move. It could prove to be disastrous. I think we're beginning to see the effects of this very tough, very physical matchup of these contestants.
These superstars are going to tear each
What
other.
a submission hold! Could this be a tap out?
It isn't. The hold can't be broken. You can't take this kind of pain for long. I can't remember the last time I saw superstars this fired up. I don't think they've even considered the possibility that they might not win this thing.
There's an awful lot of pride on the line here, King. No one in that ring wants to have to go back to the locker room as a loser. This could be a pinfall.
1, 2, 3. I think this one could go either way, JR.
It sure could. Until the referee calls for the bell, this is still anyone's match.
You think these fans have gotten their money's worth tonight, JR?
If they haven't yet, I'm sure they're going to by the end of this match.
Well, I don't say this too often, but I completely agree with you.
This match is going to continue until someone's completely debilitated.
I think this one's almost over, JR. I don't even know how these superstars are still going. Now remember, kids, whatever you do, don't try this stuff at home.
Absolutely. And now a pin. This could be it.
The intensity of these superstars is unbelievable.
No doubt about that, King. The fans are getting their money's worth here tonight. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears have been shed in that very ring.
And I think there's going to be a lot more shed here tonight.
No doubt about that, King. These superstars are going to leave it all in the ring. You can count on that. There's not an ounce of quit in any WWE superstar. But the human body has its limits, and they may have been reached here in this match.
We could have a pinfall here, JR. I feel so lucky that I'm actually getting to see these superstars wrestle each other.
Me too, King. This one has the potential to become an instant classic. We've got to be nearing the end, King. I don't know how much these superstars have to give.
Oh, man. I've been in this hole before, JR. This brings back some bad memories.
I can understand why, King. I can't even imagine the pain being inflicted here.
Boy, it's obvious these superstars have done their homework on each other.
They sure have, and this is one hell of an exam.
Let's hope it's not their final exam, JR. I'd love to see them go at it again.
Well, if I think the fans have their way, you'll get your wish, King.
These superstars are so unpredictable, this match could go another 30 seconds or 30 minutes.
I hope it's the latter, King. It wouldn't hurt my feelings one bit if this match lasted the rest of the night.
These superstars are at the top of their game, JR. They make it look so easy.
They sure do. You almost forget about the years of training and sacrifice that went into their careers.
This one could get ugly.
You're damn right it could. It could get bowling shoe ugly. And that's what this business is all about. It's not ballet, you know. These superstars are going to put each other through wrestling hell tonight.
They've already got a pretty good start on that, JR.
They have indeed, King. I don't think there's an ounce of quit between them.
Yeah, and that's where things get dangerous. If you're too proud to admit that it's not your night, you might wind up risking your career for a single match.
But at the same time, no one makes it up the ladder without pushing themselves to the very limit. It's a very fine line to walk.
I thought I'd pick the winner before the match started, JR, but now I'm having second thoughts.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, King. Usually I wonder if you didn't have first thoughts.
I wonder how long these superstars will be able to keep this up.
They'll go as long as they need to, King. And if they can't, they won't be having their arms raised after the match. That's for damn sure. Submission is locked in. This could be huge.
Oh my gosh, JR! You can't go long without tapping out to this. JR's not going to be happy about this one, folks. I think one of his favorites is going to get beat like the proverbial government mule. Well, there's no question who won that one, JR.
Not at all, King. The referee counted the pin.
Here's your winner.
I'm sure not everyone's going to be happy about it.
Candice.
That's what rematches are for.